Have you ever said something hopeful, like, "I think tomorrow will be a good day," and immediately reached for the nearest table to knock on wood? It's a tiny gesture, almost automatic, done by people all over the world. Some do it lightly, some do it twice, some even knock on their own heads if no wood is around. But here's the real question. Why do we do it at all? What secret force are we trying to protect ourselves from? This simple knock has been used for centuries, crossing cultures, religions, and geographies, and it continues to survive in a world where most superstitions fade away. There is something deeply human about fearing that good fortune might slip away the moment we speak it aloud. Something inside us wants to seal the luck, as if the universe has ears, and knocking helps distract it. But the history behind this tradition is far stranger than most people realize. It involves ancient forests believed to be alive, mythical creatures hiding inside trees, medieval beliefs about divine protection, and a psychological quirk that still influences us today. In this video, we'll explore all the surprising theories behind why knocking on wood became a universal habit. Some origins might make you smile. Others might make you wonder if the superstition actually works. But all of them reveal one powerful truth. Humans have always found comfort in the simplest rituals, even those that begin with just a knock.
Long before cities, technology, or even written language, ancient people believed that trees weren't just part of nature, they were alive in a sacred spiritual sense. Many early cultures around Europe, especially the Celts, believed that forests were home to powerful spirits, guardians, and mythical beings. These weren't evil spirits. They were protectors, creatures who watched over travelers, families, and entire communities. According to legend, these spirits could hear human thoughts and respond to them. So when someone hoped for good luck or feared something bad might happen, they would gently tap the trees to awaken the spirits living inside. It was a way of asking for protection without angering the unseen world. Trees had become bridges between humans and the divine. Over time, tapping on a tree evolved into a way of acknowledging these spirits. If someone feared they had tempted fate, knocking on the wood of a sacred tree was a way of saying, "Please protect me, don't let anything bad follow my words." Even today, we can trace this belief through folklore and ancient rituals. Though modern people may not believe in forest spirits anymore, the gesture of knocking still feels like reaching for something older than ourselves, something hidden in the roots of human history. The superstition survived because it carried a kind of comfort, a way to feel less vulnerable when speaking our hopes out loud. The Celtic people believed that trees weren't just sacred. Each type of tree carried its own magical meaning. The oak symbolized strength, the ash symbolized protection, and the hawthorn symbolized luck. Priests known as druids taught that the gods themselves lived in the branches, trunks, and roots. If someone in the community needed help, they didn't look to the sky, they turned to the forest. Touching or tapping the bark of the trees was seen as an act of respect, an offering, or a call for assistance. A light knock was a polite way of saying, "Please hear me, please protect what I just asked for." The Celts also believed that mischievous spirits sometimes lurked nearby, waiting for humans to brag or speak too confidently. Talking about good fortune could attract the attention of these tricksters who loved to spoil plans or shift fate. To confuse them, a person would knock on the tree to create a noise that diverted the spirit's attention. In other words, the knock was a distraction, a clever trick to hide one's good luck from jealous forces. This belief spread widely through Europe and survived even the fall of the Celtic civilizations. The idea that wooden objects were spiritually protective continued into the Middle Ages and beyond. Even as religions changed and cultures evolved, the superstition remained because it was simple, harmless, and strangely effective at calming human fear. Whether they realized it or not, people were carrying Celtic rituals into the modern world. Another theory traces the superstition to early Christianity. During medieval times, wooden objects, especially wooden crosses, held deep symbolic power. believers thought that touching the wood of the cross connected them spiritually to Jesus and offered divine protection. Churches often had relics made of wood believed to be from the true cross, and pilgrims traveled long distances just to touch them. Over time, the act of touching holy wood evolved into tapping or knocking on wood for blessings or safety. Some Christians would lightly knock on church doors or wooden pews when praying for protection, hoping the sound would signal their request to heaven. Knocking was symbolic of calling upon God. In fact, some early religious texts mention the idea of knocking and being answered, reinforcing the idea of knocking as an invitation for divine assistance. Although many modern people knock on wood without thinking of religion, this theory shows how spiritual habits can blend with older pagan practices. The Celtic belief in tree spirits and the Christian belief in sacred wooden symbols merged into one cultural practice that felt universal. People didn't need to know the exact origin, they just felt that knocking did something that helped, even in a small way. This blend of influences created a superstition that crossed centuries, cultures, and continents, surviving even as other traditions faded away. In a world full of uncertainty, knocking on wood became a quiet prayer disguised as a casual gesture. There is a darker interpretation of the superstition, one that suggests knocking wasn't about inviting protection, but about preventing danger. According to old European folklore, evil spirits were believed to hide in forests, inside tree trunks, or even inside the walls of wooden houses. These spirits were thought to be mischievous, jealous, or simply bored enough to interfere with human lives. Anytime someone spoke of their future plans or good luck, the spirits might overhear and try to ruin them. Knocking on wood was believed to scare these spirits away. The sudden noise disrupted them, confused them, or forced them to retreat. Some legends even claim that the spirits would freeze in place when they heard a knock, unable to act. This idea transformed everyday wooden objects into protective shields. Even today, you can see echoes of this belief. People knock specifically when they say something that might attract bad luck. It's not the hope for protection they fear, it's the fear of tempting something unseen. The superstition works because it gives us a sense of control, however small, over events we cannot predict. Humans are storytellers, and we add meaning to gestures that help us cope with uncertainty. Knocking on wood became a ritual that made people feel they had outsmarted the invisible forces of misfortune. Whether those forces were spirits, fate, or simply anxiety didn't matter. The ritual worked because people believed it did. In the 19th century, a children's chasing game called Tiggy Touchwood became extremely popular in England and Ireland. The rules were simple. Whoever touched wood, trees, doors, fences, anything, became temporarily immune to being tagged. Wood was a safe zone, a magical boundary that protected the player. This turned wood into a symbol of safety in a completely new context. Children playing the game would shout "touch wood" as they ran to a tree or wooden post. Over time, adults began using the phrase metaphorically to protect themselves from bad luck. Saying something hopeful and following it with "touch wood" became a playful habit borrowed from childhood. This playful charm quickly blended with centuries-old superstitions and spread across Europe and North America. It made the gesture feel familiar, harmless, and almost fun. The game also created a shared cultural memory. Millions of children grew up believing wood could protect them. Even after becoming adults, they carried that association with them. It didn't matter that trees no longer contained spirits or that crosses weren't the focus. Wood meant safety, period. This childhood influence helped transform an ancient superstition into a modern habit that crossed languages and borders. Knocking on wood became a universal phrase because it began in a place everyone understands: childhood play. Beyond mythology and folklore, knocking on wood has a powerful psychological basis. Humans naturally fear jinxing themselves. When we voice something positive, like expecting good news, we feel vulnerable. There's a moment of fear that saying it aloud might somehow ruin it. This fear is not logical, but it's deeply emotional. Psychologists call it tempting fate. It's the belief that the world might punish us for being too confident. Knocking on wood acts like a miniature reset button for the mind. The physical action breaks the anxious thought cycle, giving us something tactile and immediate to focus on. It creates the illusion that we've taken precaution, even if nothing has actually changed. This tiny act reduces worry and restores a sense of control. Studies show that superstitious actions, knocking, crossing fingers, wearing lucky charms, can genuinely reduce stress levels. The belief itself becomes the mechanism for relief. So even if the gesture is superstitious, the psychological effect is real. Humans cling to rituals because rituals make uncertainty feel smaller. Knocking on wood survives because it is simple, effective, and emotionally satisfying. It speaks directly to a fear we don't always admit, the fear that speaking our hopes aloud might make them disappear. By the early 20th century, knocking on wood had spread across Europe, the United States, and eventually the rest of the world. Migration, trade, and cultural exchange helped the superstition travel from one society to another. English speakers say knock on wood, Germans say toi toi toi, Turks say masala, and Latinos might touch wood verbally even if they don't physically knock. Every culture adapted the ritual to fit its own traditions. The superstition persisted because it was easy to perform, required no special object, and applied to everyday life. You could knock on a door, table, chair, railing, or even your own head. That flexibility allowed it to survive in modern environments where natural wood wasn't always present. Movies, TV shows, and books reinforced the gesture until it became a global shorthand for "let's hope this doesn't go wrong." The phrase also evolved linguistically. In some countries, people tap metal or plastic because they no longer associate wood with spirits or sacredness. But the meaning remains the same. The superstition became a cultural export, something familiar and comforting even to people who don't believe in luck. It spread because it filled a universal emotional need, the desire to feel safe after expressing hope. Even in a world of science, logic, and technology, knocking on wood continues to thrive. We know it doesn't change fate. We know it has no magical power. Yet we still do it because rituals are part of what makes us human. The gesture survives because it blends cultural history, psychological comfort, and habit. When something feels natural and harmless, it becomes part of everyday language. The act also connects us to our ancestors without us realizing it. It carries traces of ancient forests, Celtic rituals, medieval churches, and childhood games. Few superstitions carry such a rich mixture of belief systems, all merging into a single tap. Today, people knock on desks before job interviews, on car dashboards during long trips, or on door frames after saying something hopeful. It's a moment of humility, a way of acknowledging that we don't control everything. What keeps the superstition alive is its emotional truth. Knocking on wood reminds us to be careful with our words, grateful for our fortune, and hopeful despite uncertainty. It's not about whether it works scientifically, it's about whether it makes us feel grounded, and for millions of people, it does. So the next time you knock on wood, whether gently on a table or awkwardly on your own forehead, remember this: you are participating in a ritual older than written history. A gesture that began in ancient forests, transformed through Celtic belief systems, adapted by Christian symbolism, reinforced by childhood games, and validated by modern psychology. What seems like a casual tap is actually a woven tapestry of human fears, hopes, and traditions. It's a reminder that we are never fully separated from the past. Even our smallest habits carry echoes of the people who lived, prayed, and worried long before us. Superstitions survive not because they are true, but because they are comforting. Knocking on wood gives us a moment to pause, to breathe, to feel protected against the unpredictable. It's a ritual that requires nothing but a simple movement, yet it offers reassurance that things might still turn in our favor. Whether you believe in luck or not, the gesture taps into something universal, the hope that our words will not betray us and that good things will stay good. As long as humans worry about the future, this superstition will continue to live. Perhaps that's why knocking on wood feels so natural. It is more than a tap. It is a connection to every generation that came before, all trusting a simple knock to keep their luck safe.